All right. So far, everything we've done can actually also be done in Excel. Well, most of it, not everything. But now we're going to create a new type of chart that really separates Tableau from simple technologies like Excel. So we're going to make something called profit ratio by geography. All right, so first thing we're going to do is create a new calculated field, which is something we haven't done before. So here in the data pane, we have a variety of options. Click here on the drop-down menu, and we're going to create a calculated field. You can also right-click down here to create a calculated field. Don't think you can do it here. No, it's got to be here. Oh, maybe. Yeah, you can here too. Anyway, we're going to create a calculated field. So Tableau has its own built-in language that you can use, just like Excel, with a set of functions that you can use to create formulas and calculations. So we're going to call this one here profit ratio, and click down here for our calculation pane. Now notice this little guy right here. If I click on that, it gives me access to all of these built-in functions that Tableau provides. Calculated fields are super useful. So what we're going to do is determine the percent of sales that is devoted to profit. So in other words, this is a common metric in finance. Profit divided by sales is the profit ratio. So we want to sum up, and let's find and see, do they have a function called sum? Oh, sure enough, there it is, sum. If I click on that, I wonder if I just double click on it. Yeah, it puts it in here for me, or I could have just typed it, either one. And it says, what do you want to sum? Well, we put in a field name with these brackets. So open and close bracket. We're going to sum profit. And notice as I start typing, it recognizes a field called profit and says, is that what you want? If I hit tab, it selects it and it'll turn orange if it recognizes it. So sum profit divided by sum, I don't even think it has to be capitalized. Yeah, there we go. Sum, open, close, and in here, sum sales. Tab. Notice down here, if I've done it right, you'll get a little message that says the calculation is valid. Great. Now, as you might remember, there were tons of other options in here. Lots of math transformations, so many different things you can do to create your own new custom features. This is common and useful, and the better you get at being creative and coming up with what useful features might be to analyze, the more valuable you'll be as a data scientist. So anyway, we're going to hit OK. And notice it adds profit ratio right down here. And you might not be able to see it, but there's a tiny little equal sign there next to this number. This is a measure because the result is a number, but the equal sign means that it's a calculated field. However, that didn't stop Tableau from adding it back into our data source. Notice over here, if I scroll to the end, we now have, oh no, that's profit. Where did it put it? Usually it shows it to me in here. I guess on this new version, it doesn't necessarily put it there back in this data set. Maybe if I refresh somehow. Oh, well, that's all right. I'm not going to worry too much about it. Back here to profit ratio. We're going to use profit ratio now and put it in the columns. And then let's grab, actually, rather than grab it, I'm going to pull this back out. And I'm going to click on it. And then let's click on something else like state. And let's see what Show Me offers. So notice, in addition to all these others that we're now familiar with from our other videos, we also have these symbol maps. So I'm going to grab this maps, or click on the maps option. There we go. And it pulls this up for me and automatically colors some things. How did it come up with the color? Well, look over here on the marks. It says this aggregation of profit ratio is on the colors. So that means that one color means higher profit ratio and another color must mean lower profit ratio. Well, I'm going to click, if I click on Colorado, for example, notice it highlights it and kind of grays out everything else or makes it opaque. That's the lowest profit ratio, negative 20%. So that's why that one's the darkest blue. Click over here to get off of that or deselect it. First of all, let's do some formatting to make this look a bit nicer. Rather than show a decimal number, a ratio represents a percent, so let's turn it into percent. So come over here to this profit ratio, click the down arrow and go to format. Whoops, try it again, there we go. And the scale is set to number, there we go. It's automatically choosing the format. Well, let's just tell it specifically to make it a percentage with one decimal place. That's better. However, notice that it's still showing it as a decimal. Why is that? Well, okay, look, I'm on format axis. I don't have a typical axis here like I do with the other ones. Let's change axis here over to pane. Okay, here we go. Default, totals, grand totals. I'm guessing that we're probably dealing with state totals right here. So let's try this one. And if you forget, the nice thing is oops, not that one, numbers. You can just try another one. Percentage, 1 decimal place. Oh, that's not it. Let's try grand totals. Numbers. Oh, that's already on percentage. So is that one. All right, it must be this one. Default 1. There we go. All right, profit ratio looking like it should. Let's also mess with the actual colors here. So it by default setting the reddest color to the lowest number. Oh, here's a lower one, slightly redder. Anyway, we can adjust these colors by clicking here, edit colors, and I can make a stepped color and say, well, let's have 8 steps. So it'll bucket everything into one of 8 colors. And I can even, let's see, use full color range. I can reverse it. No, I can go to advanced and even say, let's manually set the ends. Let's make this something like -5 to +5. And that way I get a more, we might like that because we want to show what like a true end-to-end scale would look like, even if we don't have values at those ends, since it's automatically choosing the max and the min to set as those ends. We may not necessarily want that. Anyway, apply, okay. All right, this is looking good. Let's hide show me here. And now we get our legend as well showing -5 to +5. It's starting to look pretty good. I may also decide that I don't particularly like these colors at all. I'm going to go back to edit my colors again and go to a completely different, something like green and gold. Why not? Okay. Yeah, let's say I like that scheme a little bit better. Let's also do a little bit more on filtering that we haven't done before. I'm going to go back to, I'm going to close out this format screen. Let's put region in here as a filter, and then I'm going to include all of them. Okay. I'm going to show that filter and let myself highlight certain regions. This is nice now. So notice it's automatically panning in. That's useful. I can also use my zoom in and out here. I've got some other options for selecting, magnifying. I can search for a particular place. Florida. There we go. That's kind of nice. Maybe I want to filter by my new profit ratio. I can show this as a filter over here, and I can start to say, okay, show me just those within a given area. Oh, wait a minute, I'm still zoomed in by Florida. So let's use some, there we go. I depin or unpin that option right there. This lets me move around instead of just selecting. I've got some other options here. Let me highlight or lasso a few places. Another option, but I'm going to depin those again, add everything back in my filter, and click off the map. I'm still, the reason why it's not showing some things is I changed my profit ratio filter. So I can move this around and find out as I go along which areas are my lowest profit margin. Maybe I want to focus on those and use my filter like that. Anyway, geography is a very useful type. Now, one thing I want to point out, notice that it put or substituted in this latitude, longitude values here. How did it get that? Those weren't measures that we had over here in our original data. In fact, let's double check our data source. Was latitude, longitude in here? Nope, don't see it. So how did they get that? Well, Tableau simply has built in, if you have a value like Colorado, it has a central lat-long coordinate in it for Colorado, and it uses that to generate these maps. So it will automatically use those things. However, remember, I still do have this option to aggregate further than just state. I can go to city and even to zip code or postal code. How's that possible? Back to our very first video, you might remember we made this hierarchy where we put each of those together. So hierarchies are very useful if there are fields with natural relationships with them in the data. And I can hover all over all of these and see differences among individual zip codes or postal codes. If I didn't want that, aggregate back out a little bit. Now it's based on city, back to state. All right, very useful stuff.